So in the previous chapter, which was Jaya Vijaya being cursed by the Brahmanas, the 4 sages. So after being cursed, the demigods left the Vaikuntha planet, and Brahma is explaining that entire incident, what happened, and reason behind that. So why the Brahma is explaining is because the demigods approaches Brahma when they saw entire universe covered with darkness because of the birth of Hiranyakashipu and Hiranyaksha. So now demigods are relieved of their fear because Brahma assured them, like as mentioned in the last verse of the previous chapter, Brahma assured that whatever is happening is by the will of the Lord. So the moment they came to know, yes, everything is happening because of the Lord, so they were relieved. Does this mean the universe was uncovered from the darkness, or the calamity was at once eliminated? The situation was the same. Whatever has to happen, it will happen. But demigods were fearful in the beginning, but they approached Brahma to inquire about the reason for the darkness or reason for the calamity. Brahma explained them. So the moment they heard about that, they became relieved, even though the situation has not changed. So this is what in this Purport Prabhupada very elaborately explains how a God-fearing or devotee or God-loving person behaves in the case of any disturbances and about other people, those who are not devotees. So devotees, in case of any problem, what they are supposed to do? Approach the right authority, take clarification or take information or take some solution for that particular problem and get relieved. So solution does not mean always the problem is resolved. Problem may exist, but at least we know we have got right directions, right instructions from the proper authority. So the Vedic literature, we know that in this world, heavenly planets, just like it is said, demigods after hearing from Brahma, what did they do? They became relieved of the fear and they returned to their respective planets. That means the heavenly planets. So heavenly planets are also there and hellish planets are also there. Where heavenly planets facility is much more compared to these earthly planets, and in the hellish planets the facility is very, very, very minimum compared to these earthly planets, hellish planets. So that means a place with some facilities and place without any facilities are place for punishment. So why this discrimination is there? It's because of this. There will be always 2 kinds of person. Chaitanya Charitamrita explains, Dho Bhuta Sargo Lokesmin. In this world, there will be Dho Bhuta, means 2 kinds of living entities. Who are they? Daiva Asura Evacha. Daivas are the demigods and Asuras. And what is the definition of them? Viṣṇu Bhakta Smuto Daiva. Daiva definition is they are devotees of Lord Viṣṇu. And Asurastad Viparyayaha, and opposite of them, non-devotees, are those who doesn't obey the Lord's instructions. They act whimsically, independently. So for them, those planets are made where Krishna says, if someone doesn't want to surrender unto me, or he performs heinous type of sinful activities, so what Krishna does? He puts them into the darkest region of this hellish planets and he makes them suffer perpetually, eternally. Krishna says, use the word perpetually. That means as long as they want, they can be in the darkness, almost like eternally. Those who perform that ghastly activity. So always this kind of 2 personalities are there in this world. In the Mahabharata, we see before the starting of Kurukshetra, Duryodhana goes to ask his mama, Shakuni instructs him, you should go and approach Krishna for some help related to the war. Because the Yadavas army has not yet joined either Pandavas or Kauravas. So if you approach now, so you may get Krishna's help. So he goes, when he goes to Dwarka, Krishna was actually taking rest. So then Duryodhana goes, he didn't want it to disturb, he goes and sits near the head of Krishna where a respectable one sofa was kept. Then Arjuna also approaches. So Arjuna goes and sits near the lotus feet of the Lord. So the moment Krishna woke up, Krishna first saw Arjuna. Then when he gets up and sits, he sees Duryodhana also. So he exchanges some pleasure words between the two cousins, both are cousin brothers for Krishna. So then Arjuna asks, what for you have come? So Duryodhana tells, Krishna first asks Arjuna actually. But Duryodhana says, Krishna, it was me who came first, who arrived first here. So you should hear from me, because he was in a fear that Arjuna may ask the entire army. If the army is taken, then what is left? So Duryodhana was thinking in that way. Then Arjuna says, doesn't matter, let him ask what he wants. So then he asked for the entire army, whereas Arjuna asked for, we just want you, Krishna. Even though Krishna says, I will be unarmed, I will never lift any arms, I will never fight, I will never take part, I will just be a neutral man. So, but still Arjuna prefers him. So this is what difference between a devotee and demon is. In the further we will come to this, where how person overcomes with different qualities of this material world. What is the reason that Srimad Bhagavatam claims? We will come little later to that part. So now we are in this verse, very beautiful verse, where Maitreya is instructing, is giving instructions to Vidura, explaining that entire pastime, whatever happened. So in that, Maitreya Muni is saying to Vidura that a beautiful thing, the demigods, inhabitants of fire planets, were freed from all fear upon hearing the cause of darkness explained by Brahmā. Even though situation has not changed, but at least they were freed from all fear. Situation is the same, but they became free from all this and then left to their planets. So that means they understood it's a Lord's plan. We cannot do much. If it is a Lord's plan, then definitely it is for something good. The end result will be something good. Once I heard one small story. In the bus, passengers were traveling. So among the passengers, there was one man sitting with his just 2-year-old baby. So he was looking very distraught, very disturbed. Face was fully lowered. Sometimes some tears were also coming from his eyes. So he was holding the baby on his lap and he's sitting. So after some time, the baby starts crying. So initially, he doesn't even give attention to that baby. But baby intensifies its crying. So then he tries to solace that, calm down that baby. The baby was uncontrolled. He gave some eatables, some playthings, but still the baby was kept crying. Finally, he thought, he just leaned onto the window. He was gazing outside and baby is crying here. So the fellow passengers, those who were some elderly persons were there nearby. They inquired from him. They tried to inquire. Actually did not reply. Then other people sitting in the bus, they became very angry. Hey, what kind of person are you? A stone-hearted person or what? The baby is crying continuously. Instead of pacifying that baby, you are looking outside and you are in some other world. What has happened to you? It's your own baby, right? Feed him something. So generally what happens when you pick up the baby, do some things. So then naturally the baby becomes calmed down. Still he did not reply. Then entire bus, initially 4-5 people were involved, and all the passengers, they got together, they started scolding him. What has happened to you? Koi nasha karke aayo kya? The baby is crying and you are not doing anything. Then that person, he turned towards the passenger and said, actually, the baby is crying for his mother. Just now, she passed away. I cremated. She was sick and she was admitted in an hospital. There only she passed away. Then I could not even take the body to the home, so I cremated there only. So now we both are heading back to the home. So now baby wants mother. Where from I'll get mother now? So the passengers, those who were shouting at him, those who were blaming him, immediately What was the reaction? They all became sympathetic towards him. So some of the ladies, those who were there in the passengers, so they lifted the baby. They took the baby to their seat. So they started consoling with some milk or some biscuit they gave. So the baby came consoled. The situation is the same. The baby crying. Passengers were shouting at him. Passengers were screaming at him. But whereas when they came to know the situation, all their angry went on. That turned towards sympathetic situation. So that's what here, when we know the reason for the situation, when we know the real actual reason, sometimes we behave very harshly towards someone, we may react in a certain way, but when we get to know the actual reason, so our reactions may actually change. That's what in most of the scenarios, most of the situation it happens. The demigods, they were very afraid, they were very concerned about what is going on. Immediately they heard from Brahma the real reason when they came to know the fact. So their situation completely changed. They were filled with fear and they became fearless here. Shankayo ojjitaha. Shanka means here it is referred to fear. Shanka. So their fear immediately disappeared. They became satisfied. Because they got to know the reason is it is the Supreme Lord's plan. We have nothing to do. We cannot do much. And ultimately when the Lord does something, it will be for good only. We have no control over the things which are happening in this material world. So that's what in the Purport Prabhupada very elaborately explains. If the people would approach authority, then every adverse condition in this universe would be rectified. Sometimes when problem comes, we have two situations. What? Either we can try to solve ourselves. If solution is not coming, contemplation, some speculation, overreacting. That's what happens in our life when we are trying to address our own problems. In case if the problems are not solvable by ourselves. Then other second option is you approach the authority. Like Prabhupada here mentioning, approach the authority, then every adverse condition in the universe would be rectified. What? Authority will immediately give solution or situation is changed? Some may not be. Situations may not be changed, but the solution, like what Brahmā gave here, the demigods, when they became completely free from their confusion, fear. Similarly, that is what as devotees should be doing. Any problems comes, instead of trying to find solution for ourselves, especially some such critical things which are not in our control, what we are supposed to do? Approach the authority, spiritual master, the Supreme Lord. Try finding solutions from them through those sources. Prabhupada here gives an example that Arjuna was also disturbed on the battlefield of Kurukshetra. But what did he do? He approached the authority, Krishna, and his problem was solved. Similar is the situation of Duryodhana. Krishna is accessible equally by Arjuna as well as by Duryodhana. Duryodhana also approached, Arjuna also approached Krishna. He was equally approachable to both of them. So Duryodhana also is in such condition where every day some of his brothers, his own brothers are getting killed. His army is, the size of the army is coming down. Many of the soldiers are being killed. He is seeing imminent death in front of him. But what Duryodhana is doing? He is trying his own ways and means. First he goes and blames Bhishma Deva, incites his anger. You are doing partiality towards Pandavas, your dear nephews. He does all the things. But what Krishna does? What Arjuna does? He just surrenders to Krishna and does what Krishna says, and he became successful. So successful formula is just surrender to the authorities. Or authorities means Supreme Lord, spiritual master, Vedic literatures, and follow those. That is the way of solving our problems in this world. Otherwise, we will not be able to solve. So Arjuna approached Krishna and his problem was solved. The conclusive instruction of this incident is that we may be disturbed by some material condition, but if we approach the authority who can actually explain the matter, then our problem is solved. the problem really will have a solution. Only thing, we need to have that kind of attitude. With that attitude, approach them, and whatever the solution is given, just follow. Arjuna was in such a confused condition. The reasons which he gives in the first chapter and initial few verses of the second chapter, he was not at all ready to fight. But when he heard from Krishna, he accepted. Yes, it is so. When Krishna is saying, I should accept. That's why he says, Shishyasteham shadimam tam prapannam. I am a soul surrender unto you. Now you instruct me. Now, till now I was behaving with you like a friend. So now I am surrendering unto you. I am taking the position of a disciple. Now you instruct. So this is how we can try finding the solutions. And Krishna is easily accessible to everyone. Krishna is so merciful that even for a common man also can easily understand Krishna. 7th chapter, Krishna explains, Rasomapsu Kaunteya, Prabhasmi Shashi Surya. Krishna is comparing, Krishna is telling how people can actually remember him. Every day when you are drinking water, this is something which every living being does. At least 10 times, 20 times in a day we drink water, right? So just remember, whenever we are drinking water, it is that this taste of this water is Krishna. So this knowledge is available for devotee, a common man or a non-devotee, for everyone. So just remember Krishna whenever we are drinking water. Rasoham apsu kaunteya. And the next verse Krishna says, Punya gandha prativimcha. In this word, whatever good fragrance comes, even in the fragrance also there are two types. Good smell and bad smell. So the whatever good smell is the punya gandha, that is me. So whenever we smell something, we should remember it is Krishna. So this is available for everyone. Even common man can also understand and remember Krishna. But what happens? They fail to understand because they lack the faith, and because of the lack of the faith, they don't approach the right method. Like it is said, rich becomes richer, poor becomes poorer. A person will say, suppose if he hears this, Rasoham apsu kaunteya, he will start remembering Krishna. So what will happen? Because he is remembering Krishna, Krishna who is sitting inside as Chaitya Guru directs him to that person who can actually guide him in achieving the success of the spiritual life. So then he will approach spiritual master. Because he has approached spiritual master, he becomes more stronger in his faith. His faith becomes more stronger towards Krishna. So when he approaches, practices the instructions of the spiritual master, his faith is further intensified. That's how rich becomes richer. On the other hand, a person who is non-devotee or one who is in distress, he will try to find a solution for his problems on his own. He will fail. Then what will happen? His faith will become shattered. Then with that faithlessness, he will not even approach God. Even the good words, what falls on his ears, Krishna is trying all the ways and means to somehow bring him to that right track. But he will not give ears to those good words also. So he will become further down. That's positive spiral and negative spiral. He will further go down to an extent where he will think he is completely atheistic, nothing is there, whatever has to happen, I will have to find solution myself. This is a kind of a helplessness situation. But what happens? Just one string of any positive activity, a small activity done in Krishna consciousness. What Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, Swalpamapyasya dharmasya trayato mahato bhayat. Even in that utter miserable condition, if he just turns his head towards Krishna, hears some good words and puts faith on those instructions, then he can be saved. That is what ideally as devotees should be doing. So even though these instructions are equally available for all kinds of living entities, but still some people, even after hearing Bhagavad Gita, people won't become devotees. They will take it as something else because of their ignorance. Because they don't want to surrender to Krishna, so they'll interpret it in their own way, which satisfies their material ego. So in our childhood school days, we were taken to, it was a village, there was no theatre as such. So we were taken to a nearby town where theatre is there. and we would be shown some documentaries based on moral values, based on some ethical values. So every year they used to take us to show some, maybe that was the government project to give good values to the children. So all our school children together, we would go in a bus, see that movie and come out. So that movie would always be a very, either a movie or a documentary or something which will give some good message. So like that, we were taken to one movie. It was based on alcohol. If a person, he becomes addicted to drinking alcohol, what will happen? So the anti-alcohol campaign, it was part of that campaign documentary. So in the documentary, there was a person, hero, and then another woman, his wife, heroine, and 4 children. So the hero initially was too much addicted to alcohol, to an extent where every day he would become in the night he will become completely unconscious. He would have fallen somewhere in the road. Someone will lift him and bring him to the house. So then wife was a very pious lady. She would always tell him, fight with him, because of this and the entire family is in a big mess, but still you are not listening to our problems. So all these things, documentary goes on like this. So one fine day, another person in that village called a villain, he comes to that lady, the heroine of the movie, and he tries to molest her. So the husband is lying somewhere completely drunk, in a drunken state, and here he is trying to molest her. Somehow the children save the situation. So the wife is saved from the molestation. So villain is chased away from the house. So next day morning when he wakes up, he comes to the house. Then he sees the entire house is in a completely disturbed condition. Wife is crying, children are crying. Then he hears about the incident, what had happened. Then wife tells him, just because you are an irresponsible person, this condition has happened to us. If you are a responsible person, no one would dare to come and do this kind of activities. No one would dare to molest me. Because you are irresponsible, everyone knows every night you would have drunk and slept somewhere, fallen somewhere. That's why people will come and harass like this. Unless you stop drinking, this will not stop. So then hero immediately goes, he fights with that villain, he beats him nicely, and he comes back and promises to the wife that, okay, from today, I will not drink. I'll become a responsible man. So he stops drinking. Then what happens after he stopped drinking, he has become a very good man. He comes every day in the evening, spends time with the family. So the story goes on. So everyone is thinking it may be a happy ending. Then one fine day he had gone out for some work. The same villain comes, again tries to molest the heroine. Then by then hero had gone out, so he was somewhere in the midway. He gets to know that something is happening with his wife. The villain has again come. So again, wife somehow saves the situation. The villain is driven away. So the next day morning, when the hero comes to know, he was again angry. He goes and fights with the villain. So during the fighting, what happens? Villain kills the hero. So this was a documentary, supposed to be a happy ending. It became a disastrous ending. So hero is killed. So one of my generally teacher asked, what did you learn from this incident? So obviously we'll all say, yes, alcohol drinking is very, very bad. We should not do. Entire family will be in a big mess because of this condition. Blah, blah, blah. So one student said, actually alcohol is good. Why? Because he was drinking alcohol in the beginning. In the first scene, he went and hit the villain. He won the situation. He nicely beat him up and he came back. Second time, he was not drinking alcohol. Because of that, he could not beat the villain properly. That's why alcohol drinking is good. So, situation is the same. But how do we understand, how do we perceive the situation? With all good intention, that documentary was shown, but how people can understand, yes, Because of the drinking, he was so strong. After he stopped drinking, he became weak. He could not beat the villain. Similarly, the situation of the non-devotees. Our devotees, sometimes when our consciousness is properly maintained, we know we have situation. For a devotee, one who is apparently going through some low phase, same temple, same deity, same prasadam, same Vedic literature, same devotee association, everything is available. But what happens? The same situation which was helping to uplift his consciousness, it's not at all working now. He sees in a very negative way. Situation is the same, everything is remained the same deity, same sadhana program. But still, a devotee may start going down with respect to his consciousness, with respect to his faith in the Supreme Lord, faith in the words of the Vedic literature. Even he may start even telling, these are all some brainwash. So this is what, when we have to pursue the negative spiral, one negative thing happens, we lose the faith. Because of losing the faith, the value, we'll lose the value for something like sadhana or prasadam. Then because of losing that value, further we are going down. So this is how we are not able to pursue the same prasadam which brought me from karmi and made me into a devotee. Now that same prasadam is no more working. It has no effect. Just because, why it is? Because just consciousness. Apparently going through some low phase, going through some disturbances, we are not able to say the same good words from the devotees or from the Vedic literatures is not at all affecting. There is no effect. Just because of the consciousness. So that's what Śrīmad Bhagavatam explains this in a very beautiful verse. In the 7th canto, so after the Narada Muni is explaining to Yudhishthira Maharaj about the pastimes of Prahlad Maharaj. So while explaining those pastimes, Narada Muni is referring to Yudhishthira Maharaj. There he says, one of the verse Narada Muni is saying, Shoka Moha Bhaya Krodha Raga Klaibya Shramhadayaha Yenmula Shur Nrunam Jahiyat Spruham Pranartayur Buddhaha. Those in human society who are intelligent should give up the original cause of lamentation, illusion, fear, anger, detachment, poverty and unnecessary labor. The original cause of all this is desire for unnecessary prestige and money. Like here it is mentioned that the demigods became free from fear. And in that context what Prabhupada is saying, the demigods who are denizens of the higher planets are also very much afraid of incidents such as universe becoming dark, and so they consulted Brahmā. This indicates that quality of fear, bhaya, exists for every living entity in the material world. So the bhaya is always followed with shoka, moha, lamentation, attachment. Because of attachment, we develop some lamentation. Because of the lamentation, fear comes. That's how. So there here Narada Muni is saying to Yudhishthira Maharaj, same thing. Those in human society who are intelligent should give up the original cause of lamentation, illusion, fear, anger, etc. There are so many other friends of fear, bhaya. So if we want to really come out of that, what you are supposed to do, one should give up the desire for unnecessary prestige and money. One reason Narada Muni is quoting to Yudhishthira Maharaj. Why we get into that stage? It's because of unnecessary prestige and money. That's what Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says. What are the symptoms of a devotee? A symptom of a devotee, Vaishnava, is that, asat sangas tyagi Vaishnava achar. A symptom of a Vaishnava is that, one should disassociate with a person who is too much attached to material wealth and woman. So, unnecessary prestige and money. So, when something gets into this root cause analysis, when we do, for what reason my consciousness is going down, why I am not properly situated. So, somewhere we will find one of the reasons which is mentioned in the Śrīmad Bhagavatam. Another place mentions about what is the cause of our fear, our lamentation in this world, which is from the 5th canto, where activities of Rishabdeva is mentioned. So here Shukadeva Goswami is instructing Parikshit Maharaj. There Shukadeva Goswami is saying that Nityam dadhati kamasya chidram tam anu yerayaha yogina krita maitrasya patyur jayeva pumshali An unchaste woman is very easily carried away by paramours, and it sometimes happens that her husband is violently killed by her paramours. If the yogi gives up his mind a chance and does not restrain it, his mind will give facility to enemies like lust, anger, and greed, and they will undoubtedly kill the yogi. So another reason why a person gets into, or why he gets entrapped with fear, illusion, bhaya, and all those things, because of unchaste mind. Here Shukadeva Goswami is comparing unchaste mind to a woman who is not chaste to her husband. And what happens? She gets, these days, almost every day we are reading one news. Generally a trend starts with some incident, and that follows, say, as a woman who has an extramarital affair. So she makes a plan with her boyfriend to kill the husband. The drum incident, which is going on very viral in the news these days. So followed with so many such stories are coming. Yesterday another news was there. Husband knew that wife has an extramarital affair. So then he decides to get her married to her boyfriend so that his life can be saved. So he again remembered the drum incident. I should not be putting the drum with the cement mixed. So there's a news, it was in the news articles. So this is what happens if you have a mind which is unchaste or an uncontrolled mind. Ultimately, yogi will be killed. That's what Shukadeva Goswami is saying, that if the yogi gives his mind a chance and does not restrain it, his mind will give facility to enemies like lust, anger, and greed, and they will undoubtedly kill the yogi. So another reason for all our problems is an uncontrolled mind. If you just control the mind, keep it under control. Actually, what happens when the mind is disturbed, even all good words, all good, the Vedic literatures, even those instructive things also doesn't strike us. That's where somewhere we have to come to, from that negative spiral, we have to uplift ourselves to the positive spiral. There is no other option. So in the next verse, Shukadeva Goswami is further mentioning that Kama Manyur Madho Loba Shoka Moha Payadayaha Karma Bandhascha Yenmula Swikuryat Konu Tad Buddhaha. So Shukadeva Goswami mentioned that what is the reason for fall down, or what is the reason for how a yogi can be killed. Then in the very next verse, Shukadeva Goswami is also giving solution. What can be done as a rectification? So here Shukadeva Goswami is saying, the mind is the root cause of lust, anger, and pride, greed, lamentation, illusion, and fear. Combined, these constitute bondage to fruitive activity. So all these things, when they are combined, so this will lead to a bondage of fruitive activities. And what learned man would put faith in the mind? So whether any learned man, when he comes to know that, my mind can cheat me, my mind can be the cause of my own killing. So will he really put his mind, faith on the mind? Obviously not. That's why it is said that, never ever believe your mind, especially in the neophyte stage. Whatever mind dictates, generally whenever a fight happens, when we go to someone and present our case, how we present? Even if our mistake is there, but mind will never allow that, I did a mistake. It's always that, other one did a mistake. Because of his mistake, I am suffering. This is what actually mind does. 99% of the problem arises from this, the wrong dictations from the mind. Even for 1%, even for a fraction, 1 second, if you think that, actually, I who started the, argument, of course, I started and the other one became very heavy and he started beating me, but I was the one who started, I am the culprit. So I should not have started. If a devotee actually thinks in this way, the problem won't arise. But 99% of the situations, mind will never allow us to come to that such a noble thinking that it was me who started the problem, fighting. So whether devotee should yogi should put a faith in the mind. So Shukadeva Goswami ends this verse with a question mark, saying that whether any learned man would put faith in the mind? No. Then as a solution, In the further first chapter, Shukadeva Goswami has already mentioned about what is the solution for this. Yasyam vai shriyamanayam Krishne parama purushe bhaktir utpadyate pumsam shoka moha bhaya upaha. Upaha means how we can come out of that. Are getting uncovered by these coverings of shoka, bhaya and moha. So how we can come out? Shukadeva Goswami is saying, simply by giving oral reception to the Vedic literature, the feeling for loving devotional service to Lord Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, sprouts up at once to extinguish the fire of lamentation, illusion and fearfulness. The best solution, these are some of the samples actually. If you just type out in the Vedas, you will find at least more than 100 such references of how to control the mind. Easiest way is to just concentrate our mind onto the words of Lord Shri Krishna and divert your attention towards loving service to Lord Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Then for once all the things are stopped. Shoka, moha, bhaya, a person will easily come out of all these things. Just like how the demigods here, they just heard Brahma's instructions and they found out the actual reason. It is Supreme Lord's plan. So then immediately their fear is vanquished. They are free from the fear and they are going back to their heavenly planets to continue their activities. So this is the easiest method. Just hear about the Supreme Lord, hear those instructions and engage ourselves in the loving devotional service of the Lord, then we are free from all these things. A small glimpse we can understand what struggles a materialistic person undergoes outside. They have to, basic things, food, shelter, clothing, they have to struggle. Do we have those struggle in the temple? We don't even know what is the price of tomato. For materialistic, for an ordinary householder, for him the big question will be, what is the price of tomato? What is the price of onion? Sabji ka kya bhav hai? Because that's all he has to go and gets from the market. Accordingly, he has to take the money also. But here, we are free from all those anxieties. We don't have fear what will happen if the world economy crashes. We don't have all these fears, whereas big analysts are sitting and they are putting their brains, world economy is falling, the global resolutions, global problems. But we have nothing to do. Every day morning, as soon as a person gets up, what he does, first thing what he does, he will start reading the newspaper to get to know about what is going on, and he will become more prone to more anxiety because all negative news are there in the newspaper. But when we wake up, we are waking up with a beautiful arati of the Supreme Lord. He has to think about what is there, what and all he has to do throughout the day, what task was there. The boss will scold me. The wife has asked certain things. बच्चों को school fees भरना है. He wakes up with those anxieties. But whereas devotees, how do we wake up? We wake up with the beautiful arati, instructions from Srimad Bhagavatam. We don't have those fear. Whatever may be the price of the commodities, whether vegetables or any other groceries. We finish the Bhagavatam, we go to the Prasadam hall, beautiful Prasadam is ready. So this is a small glimpse we can understand it just by surrendering to the Lord. If you are engaged in devotional service, how we can become free from these problems of this material world, shoka, moha and bhaya, fear, anxieties, lamentation. So just that, we have to properly control our mind, engage ourselves in the devotional service, life will sail through smoothly. Of course, the mind may not allow us to easily sail through. It's not so easy, but it can be easy just by controlling the mind. And whenever mind is disturbed, what we are supposed to do? We hear. Still so the problem is not solved, then go to the authority. Demigods went to Brahmā. They did not speculate why it is happening. Should we try something? We are powerful demigods. Let us try to figure it out. They would have figured, they have tried all these means. When they did not find out the reason, they went to Brahmā. Brahmā clarified. Just approach authority, just surrender. Your problems will be solved. So that's the beauty of Krishna consciousness movement. With this, I'll stop here. Grantharaj Srimad Bhagavatam ki, Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada ki, Nitai Gaur Premanande.